From Pedro Pascal getting a massive eye infection after taking selfies with fans, to being baffled at people thirsting over an old man like him, here's why Pedro hates his fans. Sure, Pascal's followers have been crazy since the start, but things got very strange when they gave him an eye infection while taking selfies. Now, the actor has bagged roles in the greatest franchises of all time, like Game of Thrones and The Last of Us, and of course The Mandalorian. But he was part of an honest discussion with a Hollywood Reporter, alongside several other actors. And when they started talking about fan encounters, Pascal's experiences were the most absurd of them all. As you probably saw, his character Oberyn Martell met a brutal end in Season 4 of Game of Thrones. His eyes were viciously gouged out during a battle with Gregor Clegane. And guess what? Fans were dying to recreate the iconic scene, and wanted to take selfies with their thumbs pressed into his eyes. Talk about getting too comfortable with an actor. But crazily enough, Pascal went along with it. He was thrilled about the success of his character, and happily posed for those eye-popping selfies. But it wasn't long before he realized that he made a giant mistake. He got an eye infection, all because the fans got too handsy with him, without even washing their hands first. Kieran Culkin was astonished at the trust Pascal had in his fans, but the actor soon realized that the trust was a mistake. There was something very wrong with his fans, and it only got worse from here on. You see, the man got the most bizarre requests from his Mandalorian fans, and he straight up had to turn them down. During an interview on The Graham Norton Show, he talked about the creepiest things people asked him to do. And apparently, some fans begged him to speak to their children in his Mandalorian voice. Now here's the thing, Pascal finds it very inappropriate, because his Mandalorian voice is super breathy and deep. And trust me, it's not the type of sound you'd want your kids to enjoy. In his mind, the voice only works its charm in a mysterious setting, like a dimly lit room. But in real life, it just wouldn't work out. Get this, Pascal wasn't this popular until 2022, and when he got famous, things flew out of hand pretty quickly. It started with Vanity Fair and the iconic lie detector test he took in their interview. They asked him if he ever looks at his Instagram fan account when he's feeling down. These accounts are dedicated to solely talking about Pascal's glory. And guess what? He excitedly admitted that he does. This stirred something in the fans' hearts, but things hit the fan when in an interview with Entertainment Tonight, he agreed to be everyone's daddy. Clearly, he was just having fun, but the fans took his response too seriously, and it left Pascal in shock. During his appearance on Saturday Night Live, a sketch took a jab at Pascal's daddy status, and he admitted that he didn't expect the fans' comments to be so wildly inappropriate. Although he was amused, the confusion was clear on his face, and it wasn't just fans who were thirsting after him. Sarah Michelle Gellar, the iconic Buffy, chimed in on Pascal's daddy status as well. She posted about their work together on Buffy, and captioned it, "When Mother Met Father." But then the most groundbreaking fan cam edit was posted on TikTok, and the obsession reached its peak. The video featured Pedro and some close-ups and scenes from Kingsman, and let's face it, it was a massive hit. In the clip, his character Whiskey goes up to Ginger Ale, played by Halle Berry, and with a devilish grin, he asks her if she would like to ride home on a real cowboy, offering a six-pack of cold ones at his place. But that's not all. He told her that his roomies are out all night, making his intentions crystal clear. I mean, the montage of Pascal donning a cowboy hat was enough to cause a storm, but his dialogue worked like magic. The video racked up 3.6 million likes and more than 30 million streams in no time. It became the ultimate Pascal fan cam edit, with Hey Sexy Lady by Shaggy playing in the back, and over 25,000 TikTokers jumped on the bandwagon, using that same audio for brand new Pascal edits. But soon, this sweet little obsession turned very creepy, as media outlets jumped onto the trend. When he appeared on The Graham Norton Show, he had to sit through an entire conversation based on his being the internet's daddy, and honestly, the guy just seemed annoyed. He explained how he still hasn't figured it out, even though he's accepted the title without question. As if that wasn't enough, another meme from the unbearable weight of massive talent ended up on TikTok, featuring Nicolas Cage looking back at a grinning Pedro Pascal. And while the meme was adorable, it only fueled the fire of Pascal's dreadful overnight fame. One day, the man just had enough, and when he got an inappropriate request on the Disney Plus red carpet, he straight up refused. It was the premiere of The Mandalorian Season 3, and Pedro put his foot down. About time this man set his boundaries, because that night, a reporter from Access put him under the spotlight proposing that he read the thirsty tweets that fans had written about him. But here's the thing, he had to read it aloud to the camera, and when Pascal took a peek at the tweets, he realized just how explicit they were. So he looked at the reporter and simply said no. He wasn't rude about it, and trust me, he was definitely a little amused. But he didn't want to be saying those nasty things in front of the camera, especially when he was marketing a show with a large fan base of kids. Fans were full of support, as they praised him for standing up for himself, and hopefully putting an end to the awful Daddy Pedro drama. Sure, he usually plays protective, father-like figures in his roles, but instead of being praised for his crazy talent, all he gets is the baseless lust from his fan base, something he'd never asked for. Thanks to the recent campaign to stop objectifying Pedro, fans are finally realizing just how wrong all these thirst tweets have been. After looking at the clip of his red carpet refusal, one fan tweeted that it's the worst thing they've ever seen. His loyal followers were right behind the actor, and just by looking at the video, they could tell that Pedro was uncomfortable. One fan saw that he was getting the actress treatment, because no matter what interview he went to, he would end up being objectified. Sure, he's agreed to read out thirsty tweets in interviews before, but they're all usually scripted. But this time, the reporter's offer came out of nowhere. But what baffles me the most is that she didn't ask him about his work at all. Contrary to what fans think, he's super serious about his work. I mean, just look at his filmography. His performance in both seasons of Narcos was an instant hit, where he played the role of an American detective, hard at work to rid Colombia of its vicious drug cartels. Sure, he indulged in pleasure with a lot of women, but for the most part, his expert detective skills were the focal point of his role. Then came Wonder Woman 1984, in which he starred as Maxwell Lord, a whole villain with absolutely no likable qualities. Again, his performance was marvelous, but his roles had nothing provocative about them. The Mandalorian is where the man truly came into the spotlight, and by the time The Last of Us came out, he was one of the most famous actors in the world. But not because he was great at his job, it was simply because fans liked the way he looked, and that's got to be demeaning. Let's face it, Pedro's sexualization isn't a big deal for the majority, but if there were a woman in his place, things would be very different. But nothing beats Pedro's confusion over this obsession. He has no idea why anyone would be into an old man like him. During a promotional interview for The Mandalorian, Pascal talked about how confused he is when people thirst for him, since there are so many other celebrities out there. He thought there was something terribly wrong with people who like him rather than the younger celebrities out there. But that's not all. He literally urged everyone to redirect their focus to the likes of Harry Styles, and seemed creeped out by people who find him hot despite his age. But his statements went absolutely viral. Twitter exploded with some fans praising his maturity, while others declared that they love both Styles and Pascal. I mean, why not have the best of both worlds? But clearly, being the internet's boyfriend has made him feel massively degraded, and he just can't like his fan base if they don't care about all the effort and work he puts in. The cycle continues, but there you have it. From being confused at his fan base being into an old man like him, to him getting a huge eye infection after some fans poked his eyes. This is why Pedro Pascal hates his fans.